a bonus for it. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much for, I don't know, I feel like when we put our journey into words, it makes it, like you said, even more impactful, because that way it's not just our journey, but then other people can sort of relate from it and also learn from it. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, thank you so much for doing that and for publishing this book. And yes, I'll be giving a quick introduction about Ruth, and then we'll kick off with the discussion for today. Ruth Olujobi graduated from Boyden College in May 2025 with a degree in neuroscience, and she is deeply passionate about quality healthcare and education, and was involved both on and off campus. She currently, or she served as a proctor for residential life, worked as an office assistant in the Office of Co-curricular Opportunities, and was the president of Africa Alliance, Boyden's African community, for 2 years. And Ruth is the founder of Recora, a STEM initiative in Lagos, Nigeria, that provides STEM resources and opportunities to high school students. She also hosts Bloom Daily, a podcast exploring health and wellness topics, particularly those affecting young people. Ruth additionally serves as the president of Teen Nation Africa, an organization dedicated to empowering young Africans through leadership and development opportunities. And Ruth is the author of Dear Sojourner, a memoir of lessons on overcoming, achieving, and thriving in and outside college. Our work, service, and leadership at Bowdoin earned her several honors, including the 2025 President's Awards, the General R.H. Dunlap Prize, and a 2025 Davis Project for Peace Prize. So thank you so much again for joining us for the second time at Girls Working Together. And before we kick off the conversation, because I'll be taking a step back and the fellows will be leading this conversation with questions and also a summary of each chapter, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming and also for sharing your journey through this book. I remember when I was first going through the application process of coming abroad to study, and it was you, Victory, and Victor that were like my biggest motivator. So I'll sit down, like say, okay, I can do this too. Like if they can get there, then I can definitely get there as well. So it was really inspiring to have you guys serve as a role model. And then even after school, with this book, it's also like a guide right now, because I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one going through this process of settling into college or homesickness or even navigating opportunities. So having the book as a handbook at this moment is also serving as a guiding stone for me to feel like, okay, maybe this is a universal experience. Maybe I'm not alone
Yeah.
currently going through all of this,
Mm-hmm.
because she talked about a lot, and I could relate to a lot, starting from relationship to even like facing failures or facing step backs, how to sort of create a mindset of growth. And that was really important to see, because coming abroad to study can feel isolating sometimes as an international student. So thank you so much for doing that. And yes, so I'll pass the mic to Ruth now. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. To share one or two words about Dear Sojourner before we start the conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eniola. And I want to use this opportunity to also thank you, Eniola, for the wonderful work you've been doing. I know you've been putting in a lot of work. And I remember when you first reached out to me several months ago, to invite me for the first session for, Girls Working Together and Women in Tech. And that was so wonderful to see the work that you're doing. And I think it's just amazing. So I hope you get all your many flowers. That I'm giving you virtual flowers to say well done. And I know combining this with school is also not easy. Like I understand combining this with midterms and all that. So well done. I hope you receive your flowers. And I want to give you some of it right now. And to everyone on this call, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're joining. I know some of you are in schools when you just finished school. I'm seeing my medical school students here. More power to you. I have close friends who are students, medical students, also at College of Medicine, University of Lagos, and just friends in general at University of Lagos. So University of Lagos is a university very dear to my heart because I know a lot of students there. Um, but I just wanted to quickly say before we start that when I started writing Dear Sojourner, this was it was not easy to be able to document my story and put down these things because writing is a lot of work, being able to sit down and write and being able to share my story was hard because at some point it's like, I don't want to say some of these things. For example, the chapter on relationship, I wanted to take that chapter out. I wanted to delete the whole thing. I wanted to remove it. I said, this is a lot because it was so vulnerable for me. And I was like, I think I don't want to include this chapter. But then I realized I had to because that was part of my story. And I knew that there were people who would gain insights from it, because that that was a huge that chapter alone was such a huge journey for me because I was learning and I'm still learning that. In fact, this whole book is still being written. Like, I know there's this closure that comes with when you're writing a book. It feels like there's this end. But for me, this feels like just, a demarcation between, okay, some chapters of my life, for a lot of it is still being written. And I guess what I want to say, what I want to encourage everyone here is to remember that your stories are worth sharing. You might not write a book, you might write a book which is amazing, and I will be more than happy to support. And I'm sure that there's so many resources that you might find, or people you might find to be able to write share your story through a book. But many people will not get to write a book, which is, also very fair. Like, we don't only have to share our stories through books. But I want you to remember, if there's something you really hold from this conversation and take from this conversation, is that your story is worth sharing. Remember that. Whether it's through maybe through a post that you make on social media or through a conversation you have with someone, whatever it is, because you don't know who your story will help. And your story might help just one person. And that is already huge in and of itself, just helping one person. And your story might help two people. So whether it's a younger student coming to tell you, this medical school is really hard, 100 level or 200 level student telling you medical school is really hard, I don't think you can do it. Sharing your story with them, telling them how you were able to do that, scale through 200 level. I've heard that, for example, at the University of Lagos, 300 level can be really, really hard. My friends have told me that several times, like, the exams, like, so another student might come to you and say, oh, I don't know how to scale this. Whatever it is, your story is really important. If you just finish secondary school, a student in secondary school in SS2, in SS1, might need help, might need advice. And of course, we don't know everything. I don't know everything, and Yola doesn't know everything. No one knows everything. That's impossible. There's just so much knowledge in the world. But for the little things we have and the things that we've experienced, I want you to remember that your story is worth sharing. And I also want you to know that there are so many places that your story can get to that you might never know, which is another reason it's so important to share. Like, for example, there are people who I don't even know that have this book. I've seen, like, people on LinkedIn get the book. In fact, yes, just 2 days ago, someone at Bowden sent me a picture saying that, oh, he saw a copy of the book in one of, so it's like I didn't even know the book was there. And I know another person texted me after that telling me, oh yes, she saw the book in another office on campus. And so I was just thinking, oh, I can't imagine all the places that this book has gone that I didn't even know of. Some I'm aware of, some I'm not. And so just remember that your story is so powerful. And even though it might feel hard to share your story, or you might feel, and it can feel very vulnerable, because trust me, for me, it was such a vulnerable thing to share my story in the book. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like there's information in the book that before only my friends knew. Now people I didn't even know. And I'm like, but then I'm like, okay, I've weighed the cost of, okay, having that information out and the impact. Like, I'm like, okay, I think for the things I've said, I know that the impact it will have outweighs the cost of having that information out there. So again, I just want you to remember that your story is worth sharing, and there are so many people out there who resonate with your story more than you know. And again, it doesn't even have to be a book. It can just be a conversation. You're sitting with someone and you're guiding them and you're speaking to them I want you to know that your stories are powerful. So, yeah, with that, we can kick off today's book discussion.
Thank you, Ruth, for being vulnerable with us with the book. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And then, yes, so today we'll start the conversation. Gania to be taking over, and we'll kick off with chapter 2 and 7. Um, okay. Gania, if you are on the call, feel free to unmute yourself. And if you're in a place where you can turn on your camera, feel free to do that.
I need the Bluetooth. Good evening, everyone.
Evening,
Good
Kathleen.
evening.
I'm Ganiat, and I'll be taking chapter 2. I'm sorry, I'm still on the way. But when I get to my going to turn on my camera, I hope I get finish. I get it before I finish. So, about Dear Sojourner, the thing is, first of all, I'm not a book person, and I would say for this year, Dear Sojourner is the first book I'll be reading, and I must really say it is really, really a nice book, and I'm so grateful to you, Olujobi, for writing this book. It is really, really impactful, like for real. Then for chapter 2, which is about friendship. So the summary that I can actually what I can pick from the chapter is that friendship shape how we show up and interact with the world, and not all friendships are meant to last forever. Some fade naturally. I can really um, relate with that because there are some friendships I thought it was going to last because we interact every day, we do a lot of things every day, but then I get to understand that it will just fade, and it's not that we fought or we have any misunderstanding. It just fade naturally, and the older I get to realize that it is natural for that to occur. And while reading the book too, I can understand more on that. Then another thing is that the best way to gain a true friend is by being one yourself. Funny how this one, funny how I had the mindset of this. Like there are some, of course, everyone has one or two traits or value they want in a friend, and there are some moments you won't be able to get what you want from a friend. But I now like have this mindset that if that person can give me what I want in a friend, then I should be able to be that friend at least. If there is at least if I'm starting to be that kind of friend to a person, the person can also cultivate the habit, and also then from there is going to spread. Then intentionality is the foundation of any healthy relationship. That's my summary for this chapter. And my question is on page 13, you wrote that you can't have a deep friendship where vulnerability is missing, and I get that. But my question is, does this mean that when both sides must always share, like must both sides share equally, or can a friendship thrive even if one person open up less? Then my other question is, why do you think some friends believe that distancing is the best way to cope while experiencing maybe some kind of issue or phase in their life, and they just simply expect you to just understand as a friend? That's all about chapter 2.
I can answer these questions before we move on to chapter 7. And first
Okay.
of all, I want to say, Daniel, these are good questions. And this summary is a really good summary. I mean, there are so many things in the chapter, but like you mentioned, friendships really shape how we interact with the world. Because imagine if you're around people who make you I don't know, who really pour into you and who really make you see the world in a better way. That just impacts how you see the world. But if you're around people who, for example, are always complaining or always unhappy, or that energy will just really, you will just take up that energy and you will be someone who learns to see the world that way, to only see complaints about the world and all of that. So yeah, friendship does really shape how we interact with the world. So again, these are wonderful points you've mentioned. To answer the first question, this is, there's no hard and fast rule to be like, this friend must share, we must match up in our vulnerability. Like we must be exactly vulnerable with each other. Because first of all, to begin with, there's no way to measure vulnerability. Like, okay, you were vulnerable 80%, so now be vulnerable 80%. Right? I think the key thing here to answer this question is that it might not be equal in quote of like 80%, 80%, but both parties need to be vulnerable to a good extent, right? Again, so some people are just, maybe they don't know how to really share a lot. And so to the extent they can share, like, that they're actually trying to open up. But if it's a case where like one side of the friendship is always being the one being vulnerable or being open, that there's this imbalance. Think of it as an imbalance, because I would have to use the analogy of like a seesaw. Like, if at least if it's matching up a little bit, there's going to be more of a balance than if one person is always sharing, like, and the other person is just holding up. Because there was this video I watched many, many months ago about friendship and how sharing and being vulnerable builds trust. Like, when someone is vulnerable with you actually trust them more to be vulnerable with them, because you know things about them that are more, I guess, restricted to the outside world. So if only one person is sharing all the time and the other person isn't sharing, it's hard for that person who shares all the time to continue to build trust with the person who isn't sharing as much or who isn't even sharing at all, because you don't really know what's happening with them. So, and they're not really giving, the other person who isn't sharing at all isn't giving space for the person who shares a lot to be there for them as well. So it's kind of like meta, because by sharing and being vulnerable, we build trust. Um, and it's so important to have the element of trust in deep friendships, because why will a person share about their family issues if there's no trust? And so again, there's no, like, it doesn't have to like precisely equal, like we're sharing equally, but it's like each person is putting in the effort to be open and vulnerable, because that builds trust. And again, different levels require different amounts of vulnerability. Like, if the friendship isn't trying to be, if both of the people aren't trying to be deep friends, you don't have to be too vulnerable. You can be, some friendships are more, lighter than that. But for really deep friendships where you can feel, that I can really feel safe and all of that, vulnerability is really important. I also don't want to be the only one answering these questions. I will also want to hear what people think. So yes, I would like to know what people think about, like, maybe people's experiences with vulnerability. If there have been times where you were trying to be very vulnerable and it just wasn't working out, or if you've been on the other side where you were not the one that was being vulnerable. I would love to hear. But before we I guess open the floor, I can quickly answer the other question. And actually, the one you mentioned, I've actually spoken with a friend about this before. The second one about distancing ourselves when we feel like we're going through stuff, because it's actually a coping mechanism. It's actually a coping mechanism, because we feel like when we're going through things, we don't want to burden our friends. So we distance ourselves. I think so. It's actually, there's actually a reason people do this, because you're thinking, oh, I don't want to tell them that my family is going through a hard time. "Ah, I don't want to tell them I just failed this exam, because we don't want to feel like a burden to people. So we distance ourselves. Um, And so I remember one time with one of my friends, I noticed she was doing that. Like, I sent her a text like 3 times to check in on her, and she did not respond to me. And I knew exactly what was happening. I knew she was distancing herself because I think she didn't want to like feel like a burden, because she had said that before on the previous call, that she doesn't like sharing when she's going through a hard time, because she doesn't like to be, she wants to, I guess, preserve her image of, she doesn't want to have the image of, ah, this person is always like having things going on in her life, So, and then I told her that, no, the reason I'm texting you is because I know that we as humans have the tendency to do that. And so I'm intentionally asking you because I know you won't, because I know that you won't want to tell me on your own. So I'm asking you because I want to open up the space, and I want you to know that this is a safe space and you can like speak with me. So yeah, that's why people do it. That's one of, I mean, there are several other reasons. I'm sure there are more reasons I don't even know of. But a big one is because we usually don't want to feel like we are burdening people. Think of it like when you've not told a friend or a sibling or your parents or something, that you're going through something. That might be because you don't want to feel like a burden. But before we go on to chapter 7, I'd like to hear maybe one person, one or two people speak about their experience with either of the questions.
Yes, Zainab.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. And
Yeah.
Gani has much for the question because the question actually made something come to mind. Actually, when Eniola told us initially to pick our chapters, my mind went to choosing chapters 2 and 3 because I actually enjoyed chapter 2 way more than the chapters I actually picked. But I was like, oh, let me leave that and pick 2 other chapters. But from this question on having vulnerability in friendships, I feel like it is very necessary when you want to build a relationship that goes very deep. Because, for instance, a deep friendship is not one whereby you send a text, hi, hello, how are you doing? I'm fine. And that's all for the day. That's all for it. So if you actually want to get the best from a relationship, a friendship, like Miss Ruth said, it's not measurable. You can't say, oh, I'm serving 80 ability, you're saving 20%, you're saving this, you're saving that. Like the efforts will speak, like the efforts will definitely speak. Like you need to show up, like that's very important. Because, for instance, I'll use myself as an example. I finished secondary school last year, but I met a friend March 2024. Like I can actually remember when I met him because of how intentional he took the friendship. So there's some people who you've known a whole long time and like you believe they were your close friends. You would believe those relationships were deep. So you actually get into a relationship that you can see that, oh, I'm pouring in and this person is actually pouring in. So conversations matter. If you're not free, like some people say they are busy. Like you can't be busy every time. Like you make out time. So the times you are free, you actually do some investment into the friendship. And like in the novel, actually, Ruth actually said a lot about investing. And she also gave examples. I remember the instance where I don't remember the names clearly, but she was like, she had a situation. Then she called a friend and then she was on the call for a long time. I don't really remember how the scenario went, but that reminded me of something I could do with someone that has a very high place value in my life and has actually poured in into the relationship. So I believe it really matters. It can't just be a one-way thing because there will be a time where the person actually has bad times. So you can be the person to actually, I mean, how will I put the sentence? You can be the shoulder to cry on in that moment. So there's always a
Mhm.
two-way. It has to be a two-way thing. Yes. So that's what I think, and that's my opinion on the question. Thank you so much.
Thank you for adding that, Zainab. That was wonderful.
Thank you, Zainab.
Thank
Oh, you can go ahead.
I said thank you so much. I said thank you.
Thank you. And then, Kosi, if you want to go next.
Okay, thank you very much. And vulnerability is like very important in friendships. Like, should I say maybe real or intentional friendships? But like one thing I just wanted to say or want to say is that like I think why some people are not vulnerable is because let me say like for overthinkers like me is because we feel like maybe one day, what if we stop being friends, something like that, and then maybe like they go and spill out some of the things that we said one time, one day, like stuff like that. So I think like those are one of the reasons. Maybe lack of real trust and the fear of maybe one day we stop being friends. So like we just stop being friends and then maybe something happens and or we have an argument and then they just start spilling out some of the things we once said when like so I think that's like one of the reasons or the fears.
Yeah, it's very true. And before I know we need to move to the next chapter, I want to add something to that, Perpetua, that what you said is actually so true. And I wish I could say, there's a guarantee that if you share your vulnerable, that'll never happen. But the reality is that in life, we can never have the guarantee that that won't happen. Like you can actually like be so close with a person and share all of this, and a few months down the line, you're not close with them. Like, there's no way in life to stop any of that from happening. And so I totally understand that. And I guess we approach our friendships with faith, honestly, because we never know. But really with this faith of like I want to build this friendship. And even if after being vulnerable and even if it doesn't work out, I would have I would have done my best in this friendship. I would have invested. But yes, that's definitely a real concern. And even thinking of relationships, that's I guess why some people in relationships, and now I'm speaking about romantic relationships, stay on the surface level a lot because they're like worried about like, oh, if I break up with this person, then now this person has. So it's definitely a real concern. Because that's how life is. So but thank you for sharing that angle. Was a really good one. Oh,
Thank you.
welcome.
Because of time, I know Abisola also have hands raised. So we'll go to the next slide and then, or should we, what do you think? Do you want to quickly share but make it fast? Abisola.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening,
Good
mistress.
evening. Good
Okay,
evening.
since I'm not like contributing, I have a question. Should I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay, so since you are speaking about friendship, I myself, I for one, like I lack consistency in keeping long-term friendship. So my question is, how do we keep long-term friendship?
Yeah. That's a good question. Thank you for asking. I feel like I have a degree in keeping long-term friendships because I'm someone who loves to keep in touch with my friends. Or and again, like we mentioned, like in the summary it says here that some friendships can last. Like even if you try. I remember one of my close friendships in SS2 and SS3. I thought we were going to be best friends forever, like forever and ever and ever. And then that didn't happen after I graduated. Like that friendship just didn't continue. And I remember friendship heartbreak is really hard. Like people speak about romantic heartbreak, like friendship loss. Oh my goodness! I think I probably spoke about it in the book too, because I was just devastated at the loss of that friendship. But the person moved to another place, and the person like was not online as much until we went months without speaking. Just it was a whole thing. But So I'm saying that to first say that I know that some friendships, even if you want them to last for a long time, can't. But to keep long-term friendships, the first thing I would say is intentionality. Like they can't be long-term friendships without intentionality. At first, maybe if you were in the same secondary school, you're seeing each other every day, every day, every day. What of when you graduate? Um, Even if you go to the same university, you're going to have to be intentional to see each other. So keeping long-term friendships, a very big thing is intentionality. And even if, okay, you go to the same university and you're going to go to the same workplace, to keep long-term friendships, there has to be this intentionality with, I'm going to reach out to you, and you're going to reach out to me. And of course, it can't be only one person reaching out, because then it's again what we spoke about earlier, imbalance. It has to be a mutual thing where both people want to keep the friendship. If only one person wants to keep the friendship, that friendship is not going to stay, because it's going to be exhausting for that one person who wants to keep the friendship going. So intentionality is a big one. And then you mentioned that for yourself, you think consistency is something that, for example, you might struggle with. I think sometimes consistency varies for friendships. For some of my friendships, if I speak with them once in a month, that's a good pace. Like, we're good, like maybe just checking in, having calls. Some of my friends, I call them maybe once, like we have calls once in 4 months, once in 6 months, right? But we text every other time. I guess consistency varies with friendship, and I guess defining what consistency means for the friendship. And it doesn't mean like actually like defining it, but knowing that, okay, in this friendship, just even speaking with each other like once every 2 weeks, or checking in with each other um is enough to actually keep this friendship going. It's something that is good to know. But again, intentionality is a very big thing. Being like, actually, I'm going to check in with this person. I'm going to send them a text to know how they're doing. Or for, like, from my friends, I do it a lot, like scheduling calls. This is especially important for me now as I'm working. Even when I was in school, it's not because I was in a different time zone. I have lots of my friends in Nigeria, and sometimes people are usually shocked the way I keep in touch with my Nigerian friends. And I think it's because of the intentionality, being like, let's have a call in October, or that kind of thing, or all of that, especially with, again, different time zones. But intentionality, if there's one thing I can say, intentionality is definitely a big one. Mm.
Thank you. I think we're done with this slide, so we'll be going to chapter 7. Um, Ganiat.
Okay, thank you so much for your insights about the friendship. Then chapter 7 is about leadership and its weight. And there are a lot of points, like key points in the chapter, a lot. And I can't even write everything down, but the ones I'll be saying here. First of all, true friendship is rooted in service and not then leadership demands sacrifice, self-discipline, and consistency. And sometimes leadership means learning when and how to let go. And lastly, I would say you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Leadership starts where you are. And my question based on this chapter is that leadership often feels like everybody, even if I don't want to put it in that context, but especially when one is balancing personal life with responsibility. And if after trying repeatedly it still doesn't work out, is it wiser to step aside and let go? Or should one continue striving to make it work despite the strain?
Thank you for that question. Before you mute, I just wanted to ask, when you say if after trying repeatedly, do you mean trying to be a leader in general, or trying for a specific um
Like for
like position?
a specific position, a specific role, or let's assume okay, let's assume, should I say, head girl position, and
Yeah.
issues while trying to balance the role and my personal life. Should one like still after trying to like balance it to work out? Should one just let go of it, or should one just continue to try to make it work despite the strain?
Okay. Thank you for that question. So I can quickly answer that because I know the time. This and I guess I'm going to say this for I guess probably should have said this earlier that all my answers to this question, they are not hard and fast rules. Like it's not a rule because our lives are so different. There are different circumstances. Context is important. Timing is important. So there's so many things. So it's just like, really great to remember this when um listening to these responses I'm giving. I think for this one, it really honestly does depend on maybe the kind of um position and how heavy it is. So for example, um if for example when I was the president of Bowden's African community for 2 years, I remember the second after my first year, I was really unsure if I was going to try to be a president again the second year because one, that would have been my final year. Two, when the first year I was president, it was just a lot. And I was just, I didn't know because again, balancing with personal lives and other things. But I asked myself, why do I want to be a leader? Because I knew I really wanted to give myself to that position. So I asked, why did I? And what will I be? I guess what will I be losing out on if I'm being a leader? If it's maybe for my personal lives and all of that. And so it was like if I was going to be hurting myself, if it was getting to a point where I will be hurting myself. I will be hurting the club because I was trying to be in this position. Then I know I would have had to step back. So I guess maybe one thing to ask yourself, if it's so heavy, or if, for example, you're president of this president, it's such that you trying to combine both will make you lose out on both, then that's a sign that you need to step out. Because what's the point of being in a position where you can't give yourself to that position, but you also can't take care of yourself at all, where you're now losing out on both because you're trying to do both. So that's one thing to think about. If in trying to make everything work out, everything is just going to then not work out. But if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to try, like, okay, maybe I can bring in more people because that's the thing. I spoke about delegation. In the book because sometimes you might not actually need to step back. You might just need to delegate more. You might just need to have your VP do more work. You might like you're not stepping back. You're just allowing more people to take more responsibilities. And that's one thing I did a lot my second year. And I'm so grateful. In fact, that's even important. What in fact delegating a lot taught me that helps a lot to help the other people on your team be better leaders. Like before my first year, I would want to like, and even when I was leading like years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I used to want to like micromanage, know what everyone is doing, like help them. Like, have you sent the email? Let me take a look at the email. Sometimes I still do that because I want like things to be good. But I think how I used to micromanage back then is so different from how I lead now because before it's like I want to see everything, I want to see the small details. By the time I was in my final year, I'm like, I trust you. I told my team members, I trust that you can do the work, because I'm going to do the things I really, really need to do as a president. But for things I can delegate, things I can give my VP, things I can give my secretary, all of that, I will not do those things because I will oversee them, but I won't do the work for them because they need to be able to grow as leaders. So again, you might not actually have to step back. You might just need to delegate more or bring more people on board or all of that. But if you know that in trying to balance leadership, that particular role with other responsibilities, you're going to lose out on everything and you're going to be worse off, then it's better to step back. And sometimes you might not be stepping out completely. That's another angle. You might just be stepping into a responsibility that has a role that has less responsibilities for you. But again, this might depend. Like for example, if you're sick, you're trying to recover. Like there's no need. It's only someone who is well that can be able to lead in this that roles, you know. So those are the kind of things. There are different situations where it's, for example, you're trying to care for a loved one who is sick. You know, there are so many times where, you know, context again where I spoke about context. But yes, if you know that in trying to do everything, I'm going to miss out. For example, if you're given a leadership role for, let's say, a 1 month leadership role, in the same month you're writing your WIT, and you're like, you know, it's you're thinking and you know that that leadership role, that 1 month leadership role is going to be a lot, and you won't be able to read, and you'll be able to, WIT, it's a once in a, like, everyone wants to just write WIT once and be done. Leadership, you can still always do the next month, you can do that leadership role, right? So you might have to say, okay, no, I can't take this leadership role in this 1 month because I need to focus on my wife, because I need to focus on my professional exams for my MBBS. I need to, and then next year, next month, I can step into the role and all of those, you know. So again, just really seeing what is really important right now, what is my priority right now, and going from there, making sure that by trying to do everything, you're not missing out on everything will be really important. So yes.
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you, Ganias, for that question. I think, like you said, setting priorities is key.
Mm-hmm.
That would be that would be the story of like setting priority to making sure that you're doing what works best at that time. So, because of,
Yes.
I don't know if you want to also ask if anyone has any question or thoughts for this, or should we go to the
Ye-
next?
Maybe we can, if people have questions, they can put that in the chat so that we can, and then maybe at the end, because I know there's reserved time for questions at the end, we can answer those based on the time so that we can touch on all the chapters
Yeah,
that were written out.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'll be passing it to Zainab. If Zainab is on the call.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm on the call. So good evening, everyone. Again, so I'll be starting with chapter 3, and chapter 3 was titled "Building Community." So before I read through what I have there, one of the things I learned from building a community is that we need to network. We need to network with people. And networking is not something that is secluded to just working space as referenced in the book. So to build a good friendship, we need networking. It's simply the process of building and managing slash maintaining relationships. So to the first point, it's important to build a community for yourself. Yes. Two, to successfully build a community, you need to network properly with people. Then to the third one, your network, that is the relationships you build, greatly influence your overall success in life. So this is actually coined. I got this point from the quotes in the novel that said, "Your network is your net worth." Yeah, so that I held that strongly because with the explanations from that, it shows that the people we hold dearly and people we have around us really have a way of like shooting into our lives in the end of the day. I mean, at the end of the day, yes. So my question is, in a situation where one feels the need to network with someone, with a public figure, how should one go about their quest to link up with such person?
Okay, thank you for that question. Now, I know that networking, like I mentioned in the book, can feel like a big word, can feel like a complex thing. And going back, I guess the first thing I would say would be like the context of trying to network with a person. Like, are you trying, if it's, so I'm going to answer this like we're doing it in an event. Let me say it's an event because it could be online if you're trying to like network with the person online, you know, different different spaces have different ways you can go about it, but I'm going to pick, for example, I'm trying to network with a person at an event. One of the ways I personally love to network is by having a question for the person. Like, people have actually noticed are eager to answer your questions. Like, if you just say, "Hi, I'm a fan of your work," it's like, I'm sure, like, especially with a public figure that has a lot of fans, they've probably seen a lot of fans, you know. But I usually like go having something I want to know, or even if it's not a question, something I want them to know apart from me just being a fan. Oh, I saw the event you had 2 weeks ago at that place, and I really love that. I just want to say thank you for that. You know, that kind of thing. Or, oh, I saw this event that you did this. I just wanted to know how you were able to balance that while also having your full-time job. You know, having, and sometimes they might be on a panel and you ask that question, and you instantly become someone that, oh, they will remember. If you go and meet them later on in that event and say, "Hi, my name is this, I was the one who asked the question like this," or, "Hi, my name is Ruth, I'm the one who made the comment about this," and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was you, how are you doing?" You know. So one way is to, it's interesting to like engage them, especially if it's an event or during a Q&A session and all of this. So that was is definitely a big one to network, because again, just saying, "Oh, I want, like, oh, I'm a fan," or "I'm this and that," usually they probably have a lot of people, you know, that they're who are fans or who they're speaking to and all of that. And if it's online too, you know, people have said this several times that sometimes, like, what works have they done? You know, have they written a book? Have they written a blog post? Did they have an event? Oh, I saw in your book or in your post, I saw this and this. This resonates with me. Basically, finding a point of like contact with them, or finding a way to link your interest or what you want or something that, you know, you're thinking of with something that they have done, is a really good way. Because again, to say, oh, for example, like Chimamanda being like she has written a new novel. Oh, in Dream Count, he said this, and it really spoke to me because I'm really interested about like studying why women feel this way, you know, that kind of thing. Finding this common ground with them, like your interest, what they've done, finding this common ground is a really big way to network. And again, you know, there are so many scenarios we can give, and so many, whether it's online, it's in person, it's mentorship events, but those are the ways, some of the ways that it can be done, networking. And it comes with practice. I want to add that too, like being able to do this, like, you, except you're someone who is already like really good at it, you have to like practice getting better at doing this. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruth. But like, I also want to ask something else. Like, it's still
Mm-hmm,
that question.
mm-hmm.
Yes, it's still thing. Like in the online space, for instance,
Yes.
let's say I've only come in contact with your work through the social
Mm-hmm,
media like
mm-hmm,
that. But the person is in such high standing, like that if the person gets DMs today, let's say on their LinkedIn, on their Instagram, for instance, like they get it. Like, should you become a stalker or step back at a point, or look for people like that do similar stuff in their, like do similar stuff with those people, but like are more accessible at the moment? Because sometimes, I don't know, we feel like this person can really change my story. Like I look at it like that sometimes, that oh, when you see this person, for instance, a content creator that wants to get out there, like they keep tagging this person, like, can this person notice what I'm doing? Can she see this? Can he see this? Like at a point when you've done it so much, like should you give up, or like just look for someone else to settle for? Like I don't know. That's really what bettered the question. Like should we
okay,
just
yes, thank you. Okay, that's good context, because again, I was wondering if it's like, oh, if you're at an event and you're trying to network. The online one, I think I've heard different creators I follow say this, that sometimes we're only focused on networking vertically. But we can also network horizontally, right? Like this person that you really want them to notice you, notice you, notice you. Like you might meet them and they don't actually do anything that changes anything for you. Like, but sometimes it might be that other content creator that who is also growing growing with you, that also has few followers, who can really collab with you, and both of you will do something that like goes really well. So sometimes I think we ascribe, and I can often feel that way too, that, oh, if this really big content creator that has 500K sees my post and reposts it, that kind of thing. But we can't, I guess, leave the fate of what we do to the hope that they will see us, or like a person that you really admire will see you, because that might never happen. And does that mean because that doesn't happen we won't continue our work, or does that mean that our success is pinned to whether or not they notice us? So at a point, it's really important to know that, okay, maybe if you really want them to see something, you've tried here and there, but it shouldn't be up to a place that is almost like obsessive, because that's not healthy for you. And that might even come off in the wrong way for them. Another thing interesting that I've had someone who is like a mentor to me say was that sometimes, like, just even getting better at your craft makes you more noticeable. Like sometimes you don't even need to try to like be noticed. Just by getting better, just like by constantly improving yourself, you will attract, like, people will notice that. So you're trying to tag this big musician because you too, you're also producing music. But sometimes we forget that just by even putting in the work, okay, is your music even nice? Like, is your music even good? Like, is it only family and friends that want to listen? Or are you putting in the work that will make someone who doesn't even know you want to listen to the music? Sometimes by just like improving yourself and getting better, you finally become the person that, without even trying too much, people who you admire also want to even like speak with you. And so sometimes we might not realize this, but even getting better at our own craft. But like you said, there's some people who we really really admire, and we're praying that they notice and they see and all of that. But sometimes imagine if you're trying that, it means there are probably 10 other people actively trying to get that person's attention, 20 other people, and that might not work. And so again, remembering that we don't always have to just network like with people who are like higher, or that we really admire, that are like way up there. We can also network with people who might not be at that level, in quotes, because there's so much that we can get from so many people. So yeah. Mhm.
Thank you so much. And
You're
like this
welcome.
extra information, I just said I should add it to show that yes, your story was worth sharing and it actually helped. Like I read chapter 3 some days while I was working on my capstone project, while it felt so
Mm,
tedious. So after I said I had to complete reading it, so I know I had one completed, then I can delve into the next activity I have lined up. So
mhm,
when I completed, even though I did it grudgingly, like, oh, let me complete it, because my head was like hitting so many places at the same time, because throughout this week, some things were not even right at all. But then
mhm,
yesterday, after reading the whole aspect of networking, like having an elevator pitch, stuff like that, having something planned out, not just popping up and saying, "Oh, I'm a fan." Like there's this popular guy on Instagram currently. His name is Ashakain. You might know him. You might have seen his content at one point or the other. Okay, if you don't know him, that's
yeah,
not
I'm not really sure.
okay. But some people on this call might know who Ashakain is. People who, of course, are in Lagos, are in Nigeria. So I thought of it. After seeing him, I was like, wow. Then I kept walking. Then I thought of it that, oh, if I had the opportunity to walk beside him, would I just say, oh, I've seen your content. Oh, I like this. I like that. Then I would go. Like, I'd not leave anything like tangible, like, oh, to remember this person. Oh, I just saw this person. That's all. Like, the person would definitely forget that, oh, he met up with someone like me or something like that. So it actually made me think that okay, there are some things that we should not have like skyrocketed in our minds that oh, if this happens, like after the feeling, everything went back to normal. So
Mhm.
yes, sometimes we just need to
Yeah.
stabilize, and it helped me like to really understand that. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm just going to add something quickly. So I met Tunde Onakaya a few months ago. And when I met him, I was like, oh my God, I don't know how many people know him, but I was like, oh my God, I've been following you for so long. Your work inspires me. Um, but at the event I met, so after he was done giving his speech, they asked people, oh, does anyone want to like say what stood out to them? And it was like a huge hall. And I stood up because I was like, I know I want to speak with him after the event. And one way that the way I want to start having a conversation with him is by telling him how much his speech resonated with me. And then after the speech, then I went to meet him and he was saying, and then we had the conversation and I asked him lots of questions and he answered. And that's that encounter really taught me a lot about the thing I just said, and it was actually part of the why I wrote what I wrote, because I realized that again, like so many people, like I'm sure like there's so many people who are reaching out to him. You know, it's like he's human. He can't. He has finite resources. He's not. He doesn't have that like everlasting energy and time and resources. He's human, right? And so being like, okay, I'm not going to just be like, oh, this. I'm just going to like help him help me by being very specific about like, oh, this is something that like you've done that really resonates with me and da, 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 this is my question and all of that. So um yeah, that's, but again, it comes with practice and this is something that we can fine tune as time goes on. So yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
For me, as a hand raised up, I don't know if you have a question or you want to add something, and then we'll go to chapter 4.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much for this insightful session. I've been like noting down so many things. So I just want to add something for the side. We're talking about networking and let's talk about people that you admire and the likes. So in a situation whereby I think most people say that okay, someone that is actually like seeking mentorship, and people will tell you that you seek a mentor that you have like common interests. But in life where you have like different goals and the likes of it, so let me just use like my case as a scenario. There's somebody that I really, really admire. Like I admire her a lot. Like I write in her works, and I'm not really active on Facebook, but she's very, very active on. But I do read her newsletter all the time. So I was opportune to like volunteer in an event, and she came for that event, and I went to her. We spoke for so long. Then she, because the convener of the event is her friend, so that one told me that okay, just that I should keep in touch with her and different like that. But the thing is that I'm currently a nursing student and she's studying psychology. I just love the way because I know that okay, something I'm going to do long term is something that deals with self reinvention, identity, and like. But currently now, my current journey, I'm still a nursing student, right? And that is my where my focus is. And we don't, though we have like an interest, but like more of a long term goal. So I basically spoke. She messaged me. I messaged her. She told me to call her and the likes of it. But along the line she was not really like responding again. Then I also like just I didn't want to like I didn't want to like keep disturbing her and just be like impressed and like so I just like also went back. So in a situation like that, I know that okay, yes, actually admire this person, though it is not something that I want to do now. It's like a long term goal because I am majorly focused on my education. Something that I know that with time I would know how to like explore that path. So how do we
Mm.
like tend to keep that relationship with her while I am still on my current path? Because right now I was like, okay, later I'm going to navigate that path. But she's still someone that I still want to have within my circle, even if yeah, just something like that. I don't know if you get that concept.
Yeah, I do. And because of time, I'm going to answer this really quickly, but I actually do. And the first thing that came to my mind is just keeping in touch once in a while, like sending maybe updates or like, I know you say you're not really active on Facebook, but she's active on Facebook. Maybe just like if you see a post that she made that you really like, comment, like let your comment be very thoughtful, like leave a very thoughtful comment. That way you're not in her DM, but you're engaging with her. You know, you're still engaging with her, even though you're not directly in her DM. So imagine if you leave a really thoughtful comment on a post that really resonated with you, not just wow, deep, deep, that kind of, no, like a really thoughtful comment, right? And she's like, and then she's able to see it and respond. You might not speak with her in a month, you might not speak with her in 3 months, but just engaging thoughtfully is a way that you can keep in touch, and then she's in your circle such that if in oh wow, you've been keeping in touch, and then once in a while you like, maybe if the post is something that you're like, okay, this is something I can actually have a conversation about, you can actually just send her a message being like, oh, hope you're doing well, I saw your post on this, and I had a. You might even like ask a question if you have a question, because question opens the door for conversation. Because if you leave it as a comment, sometimes it stops there and it's like, oh, thank you very much. But if it's like a question and then she can respond to the question, and then like even if you have a short conversation, but I would say trying to engage, yes. And I mean, one of the ways personally I've stayed in touch with people, or at least I've been intentional even of recent times, is sending people updates. So when I graduated and I got a new job, I sent everyone everybody that helped me, even if they helped me for like 2 seconds, I sent them a message that I'd gotten a job. I sent them a message about where I got my job, because now they were like, oh my gosh, congratulations, Ruth. Let me know how things are going. I may not speak to them in like 6 months, but I've helped them like see where I'm at. And so I think that's another thing like you can also try, if it's that, oh, you get into a psychology program or something. You can just like shoot her a message and say, oh, I just got into the psychology program and I really wanted to let you know that. So it can be, again, engaging with her work. It can be maybe just once in a while. But again, you don't have to. I've noticed that it can feel a lot to like be sending a person like that like a message every week. That might feel a lot. But if it's like, oh, once every 3 months, once every, like something happens, or engage with their posts, all those kinds of things can really help to keep just like maintain the relationship. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, Zainab.
Okay, thank you. So this is my summary of chapter 4. So the first point is the way several things in life change, so does our dreams, and it's perfectly fine. To get the best in yourself, you need a combination of both self-doubt and self-belief. Then, in times of fear, we can always find solace in our support systems. So my question is, in times of discomfort, had there ever been times where you didn't feel like reaching out to your support systems? Because this happens to me sometimes, like referring to the question Ganiat asked about distancing. Like there's something I feel like, okay, I don't want to burden this person. So I want to know if it's kind of relating to not wanting to include your support system, because I saw that in the ending of chapter 4, close to the ending, you're like, when you had issues like when it was time to complete the book, that you'd reach out to your brother, you'd reach out to your friends in CMUL and stuff like that. So it doesn't really come easy for me sometimes, like to reach out, like, oh, this is where I'm at, that, oh, this is the problem I'm facing. So I don't know if this
Mm.
question comes in the way it's supposed to reaching, but yes, that's the question I have. So is it okay if you're not really reaching out to your support systems, like when you're kind of scared or stuff like that?
Thank you. This is an important question. And well, to answer the question on the screen, whether there have ever been times I didn't feel like reaching out. Oh, absolutely. I'm never always like, I'm having an issue. Let me immediately reach out to my support systems. I've had times where, like, in fact, where someone will even ask me, someone in my core support system will ask me, Ruth, how are you? And I don't even want to answer, because it feels like too much work to have to explain how I'm feeling. Like, how do I tell you, like, that I didn't have a really good day because this didn't go well, because this test didn't go well? Like, so there definitely has been times where something happens and I'm like, I don't even want to tell because I'm like, telling them is even too much energy. Like I'm so exhausted or I'm so tired that I didn't even have the strength to tell them what happened, you know. Um, so that's something that I saw. To answer that question, yes, for sure. But then you also asked another question, that is it right? I don't know if it's either right or wrong. There's either it's a question of right or wrong. I think maybe the question would be like, is it helpful? Because I think it's helpful. Some days I don't want to, because again, like I said, some days I'm just like, some days I don't want to in the moment too. Sometimes I'm like, I will tell you, but I won't tell you right now as it's happening. I just need to sit in my own thoughts and actually even understand why I'm feeling how I'm feeling before I then tell you what's going on. And there's some days I need to tell people in the moment. Like I remember, I'll give an example when I was writing this book. I had a call with an editor and she didn't believe I could finish this book in May. She didn't think it was possible. Immediately I had the call because I was about to cry. Like I had just finished like a physics class and I went straight, oh no, physics office hours, you know. So I was just trying to do so many things. And then I had this call with this editor who didn't really believe, and it just broke me. And I was like on the verge of crying. The only reason I didn't cry was that I was in public. If I was in my room, I would have cried immediately. And then I had to like, I texted my brother and another one of my friends and told them. And I was so glad I told them then because they immediately really were like, don't worry, we'll get you another edit. You'll find another editor. Don't worry, this and this and that. And in that moment, I was so glad that I spoke to them. If not, the doubts might have just eaten up all my like strength, you know. But there's some moments where I like slow down with telling people, and I'm just like, I journal. Sometimes I even journal. Like I first journal and process my thoughts before reaching out. So again, like it's I don't think there's ever a time where it's like, no, I would never tell them because I noticed that if I do that, then sometimes do I may not make the best decisions because no one is keeping me in check. But there have been times where I've been hesitant for sure. Like that definitely happens. It has happened recently, it has happened before. It's just normal because again, we don't want to feel like a burden. But I've noticed that especially times where the weight was so much, speaking with people has definitely helped. Because they can help like speak life over that project you're doing. They can help like so they can help hold your hands. They can help you scale through. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Yes, I got
You're
the point.
welcome. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Because of time, I know Kosi and Cheta have 2 chapters each as well, but because of time, maybe we'll make it one. So, by
Mm-hmm.
respect of everyone's time. So, yes, Kosi, if you want to go next.
Okay, thank you, Annie. So I can pick one chapter, right?
Yes, let me know if you want chapter 6 or
It's I think maybe I'll go for chapter 6.
6. Okay.
So my summary for chapter 6 is okay, since we can already see it, I what I got from chapter 6 was that time timing goes with opportunity, and um success, the breakdown of success is preparation meets opportunity, because he mentioned that like the OFP, you were not really sure of putting in the effort at that time because you got one opportunity somewhere, and then
Mm-hmm.
opportunities gotten like 1 years could change your life one step forward. Like the fact that you want to put in the effort could change a whole lot of things, because they'll never be building if there was no OFP. That's the first one. They'll not be like, you could be able to do some of these things. Like you also mentioned traveling to Germany and so many other things. But we might never know how far it would have gotten if you did not put in, like if you did not make the choice, yes, and making a choice
Mm.
to like go for this opportunity. So like I feel like when I read the chapter, because I wanted to pick like some other chapters, but I didn't pick on time, so like they were already chosen, and then I was glad that I chose this chapter because like opportunities are a really good thing, and one thing that like I really hold on to is that if you miss an opportunity, you might never get it back again, and you might, but it might not be as good as the first one. So why think about what if, just go for the best one or the first one. And yeah,
Mhm.
so my question would be like, I saw like the things that you were writing and the things that you were saying. I was just like, wow, that did you get tired, something like that. And I was like what would inspire you to like think about like so many of these things? And even when you already see that you're achieving great things already, if you look a bit like, oh yes, I'm already there, so like why should I still be looking for more opportunities? So like what like inspired you to like be on the lookout for like each and every opportunity? And even while you're already achieving like big big things, great things, you're still looking out for opportunities. Like why?
I like this question a lot. Thank you for asking. And the fir- to summarize it, because I know we're short of time, would be a growth mindset. Knowing that like I've never really, or at least for me, maybe some people might feel differently, but feeling that I'm never really at the heights of what I can be doing, you know. So a growth mindset, like how can I become better? And that's one thing that really helps me. Like if I didn't have a growth mindset, then I wouldn't think of pursuing more opportunities. I can just be like, oh, I can sit here, I can sit. But a growth mindset, because we can never be maxed out on our growth. We can never be fully grown with our capacities. We can never have fully used our capacities. So that's what I would say. Has been an opportunity, like being like, I know I can be better. I know that I'm okay, I'm doing well, but I know that I can be better, because I don't want to just play to and just like stay there, just and so whether, and that might be, that might not necessarily mean I'm applying for bigger and bigger and bigger things. It might just mean, okay, I'm applying for other things that allow me to use my skills. Maybe, okay, for the longest time, I have not used my management skills, and then I can apply for an opportunity that allows me to use my management skill, or allows me to use my people skills and all of that. But yes, I think the big thing for me is the growth mindset, knowing that I've never fully used up all my skills and all my potentials and all of that keeps me applying for these things and saying, how can I be better? How can I be growing? Because the more we learn, the more we grow, the more we can, keep on becoming better versions of ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think like one question we also need to ask ourselves is like, where do we want to go to? How far do we want to go? Like, I think that can
Mm-hmm.
set the pace for us. So then we can begin asking. We can just like be curious. I think that's just the word. Just be curious to like know.
Mm-hmm.
Always ask and the rest. I really wish there was more time. Cause like I had some things to say, but then like thank you very much. And I really love the book. And sorry to say, but like the fact that you were vulnerable in the book, especially like in the chapter 12, of course, like mommy, I'm on the call. So the fact that like you were vulnerable, especially like because I already chose two chapters, but then I went to read like chapter 12 because like I'm a fan. But the fact that you were vulnerable shows that the book is friendly, and then it is not like how should I say it, like all these books that okay, this is how to do it, like spirit, how should I even say it self, like it must
Mm-hmm.
follow the pattern, something like that. It just makes it a book that people can relate. It will not be boring, like because this is like the basics for each person, like the way they live their lives. So like thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. You're
And I'll be yapping
welcome.
about it very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and now we have Cheta. So Cheta, let me know which chapter works for you, or which chapter you want to speak out of, chapter 13 and 14.
Hi, Angela. Hi, Ruth. Thank you so much for
Of
your
course.
book and for all our answering all our questions. So much of the questions really point to me, especially the one on friendship and leadership. And I really want to thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to
You're
arrange
welcome.
myself. So I think I would like to pick um chapter 13, but then I'll still ask my questions from both 13 and 14.
Okay.
Anissa? Okay. So from chapter 13, okay, it basically talks about how to the title was embracing your identity and loving yourself. And I chose this because not because I didn't love myself, but I needed some kind of encouragement and I needed to know what you had to say about this. So I learned that self love influences our interaction with others, and we should love others. We should love ourselves the same way we want to be loved, and that self love can never be equal to narcissism because narcissism has some kind of arrogance attached to it. But self love is understanding your strengths and weaknesses and the rest of that. And he also talked about investing in yourself and rewarding yourself and valuing your own space and time, and that being alone can never be equal to loneliness. Sometimes people miss, how do I say this? Sometimes people equate them that, oh, she's always alone, she's lonely, she needs a companion, that kind of thing. But sometimes we need our personal space. You said something about someone asked a question and you said that you don't always reach out, sometimes you journal. Yeah, that's also some way of being alone, valuing your time and doing what you love to do best. Yeah, and finally do what feels real and authentic to you, not dulling your life and acting in a way that feels, yeah, real to you. Yeah, thank you so much. So my question is, were there times school work was so demanding that you started questioning your choices, and how did you scale through? Like when you're having experiencing expectations from example from church members, from school assignments. You see, there's this lecturer that's always on your nerves, and questions and expectations from all angles. How did you scale through?
Thank you. That's an important question. And yes, there definitely were times school was really, really demanding. And in fact, even looking at the book, when I was writing this book, I was questioning my choices a lot. If I'm being, I think that's one of the reasons that this book is so dear to me. Because I mean, I had times where I was writing this book at 3 a.m. Like I was writing the book and then doing an assignment and then working on a job application. And in those moments, I'm like, I had different times like that, even apart from the book, going way back to other times. So yes, there were definitely time. Um, because and I honestly think that in because I've read this in other places that it's in just like places of discomfort that we experience growth. If we're in a place where like nothing is pushing us, nothing is moving us, we're just cruising through school, cruising through like we're not really going to grow as much as we should. And so why I'm not saying that we should always be like doing so much like but there has to be we have to experience some kind of discomfort at certain points that will help us grow. Thinking like because I wouldn't have known that I could write a book in my final year of school if I didn't write a book in my final year. So like I would like no one could have explained that God could give me that capacity if I didn't experience it for myself, right? So it was in the midst of me stretching myself that I saw that I could have expanded capacity. Um, but the flip side is, which is really important to know, is that times where, like I mentioned, this was in the leadership question, where if it was a part where I knew that if, because I was trying to carry so much, I would end up losing out on everything, then I would have had to step back. But then I just knew that if I just give myself a little, push myself a little more to keep on writing this book, it was not easy then. I'm telling you, like writing at 3 a.m. is not fun for, I don't know if it's fun for anybody if you have to wake up for classes in a few hours, right? Um, but yes, knowing that, okay, like this, it felt like it was a lot, but knowing that, okay, I have a purpose that I'm writing this book for. This book, I was telling myself, it's more than just for me. It's for so many other people, right? So yes, there definitely were times where I was questioning my choices. And I think that's going to happen too a lot of people, especially if you're pushing yourself, or and not pushing yourself in the bad way of like pushing yourself in a way that is harming yourself, but allowing yourself to grow. Because even though if you think of like even a something growing, that analogy of growth, there is like some discomfort with a plant growing, or like a baby growing and all. It's not just all like easy and nice. So yes, I think in the midst of putting ourselves out of our comfort zone, we can grow. And so again, how did I scale through? Really reminding myself the purpose of why I was doing what I was doing, and definitely support system, super super important. I needed people who could encourage me to keep going. My same support system were people who would tell me, "Oh, Ruth," like my brother would tell me all the time, like because he's like, "Why are you still awake at 2 a.m.? Why you send me a text at 3 a.m.? Like, why are you not sleeping, so support system was definitely one, and so many other things that we've mentioned on this call. But yes, I can assure you that there were times. If I say there are no times, that would be very untrue, because there were times, and it's in those times that I found growth and saw expanded capacity.
Okay, thank you so much. Then the second chapter was fear of navigating navigating the fear of missing out. So my question from there, though I can't say the summary, is peer
Mhm.
pressure is real. How long did it take you to select your friends when you got on campus, when you got to college? And how were you able to filter? How long in general did it take you to do this?
Yeah. Okay. This is honestly, I don't know if I have a question for how long it took me, because I don't think I was keeping track of time. I mean, I had friends that I was getting to meet in my final year, so I think I was making friends throughout. Um, but I think, to the question of I guess, yeah, so I guess that's my answer to that question. I don't think I had a particular time, but some of my closest friends, like some of my closest friends today, I met them very early on. But I also have people I'm really close with that I met later. Like one of them was one of my roommates. I met her the first day I arrived campus. And we were close friends throughout, because she was also an international student. And also in her country, there's a lot going on. So if I wanted to like really rant about Nigeria, I rant about Nigeria to her, even though she was not Nigerian, because she understood the struggles of being an international student. But yeah, I think I know there's no question here about the peer pressure, but I know that like your friends really impact how much peer pressure you feel. Because I had a lot of friends that did things I did, because I had a lot of friends that were Christians. I could, if people were doing other things I didn't want to do, or if people were doing things that other people on campus were doing things that were not aligned with my values, I could go do things that aligned with my values with my own friends. So I think your friends really impact the level of peer pressure you feel. If you're the only one in your group of 5 friends who doesn't do this, who doesn't do that, who doesn't, you're the only one, like you're going to feel so much peer pressure, because every time you tell them, oh, I want to go to this place, you're going to be like, oh, like, that kind of thing. So like if you don't have friends who have the same values you have, or at least close friends, who have, and it doesn't mean that all their values are the same as yours, like integrity. This, like, for me, integrity was non-negotiable, but it might be like, oh, they might communicate differently and all of that. But if you have friends who have a lot of core values that you have, that would really help with peer pressure. Also, because they will help you stay in check. If you're suddenly sleeping, if you have friends, and I think this is something that we don't speak about often, and I'm just going to quickly add this. We also, a part of friendship that isn't all like rosy and nice is keeping each other in check. You actually need friends who will tell you that like something you did was not good. Um, like we need friends to have hard conversations with, who will tell you, oh, like the way you spoke to that person was actually not nice. That they're your friend, but that doesn't mean that they're going to support everything you do, whether or not it's good or bad. Actually, it's not a good thing if your friend supports you regardless of what you do, whether it's good or whether you fought with somebody, whether you whatever you do, that they support everything. No, that's actually not a good thing, because that can harm you, or not even just can, that will harm you, because there's no one keeping you in check. So I've appreciated the way people in my life have kept me in check. And that's one of the things I think, even with peer pressure, when you have friends to tell you, this place you're going, are you sure you're supposed to be going there? That's really important. So the quality of your circle can really help with peer pressure, whether to even reduce the amount of peer pressure you even feel in the first place, or to keep you in check when you're succumbing to a lot of peer pressure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay, so because of time, and I want to say thank you to Ruth. We'll be going for almost an hour for 5 minutes. So thank you so much for being patient with the questions and for answering
Of
everyone's
course.
questions patiently. I really wanted to add something with each question, actually, but I was like, this is not for me, this is for everyone else. But going back to what you said about keeping each other in check, I think it goes back to
Mhm.
the of friendship for me, because one of my friends is on this call. And when you were talking about people that are not vulnerable, she texted me and she was like, are you sure you're listening? I had to turn off my camera for a while. But that's something that I've had a lot of people to keep me in check with, like, oh, if you're going through something, feel free to explain yourself or feel free to communicate. And that way, I think your chapter actually made me realize where they were coming from. Like, oh, you can't have a friendship where only one person is the one talking about what's going on, and then you're just like, okay, I'm doing okay, that's fine. So
Mhm.
actually reading your book gave me that clearance that, okay, this is the point of view they have, or this is where they're coming from when they reach out to me and say, oh, you should tell us how you feel, you should tell us what's going on in your life. And in some
Mhm.
ways, that's also them keeping in check. um
Mhm.
I have a lot of comments, but because of time, I'll just say
Mhm.
only that. It's 15 minutes past 7:30. We can, I don't know if you are willing to take one last question, if anybody else have one question, or if we should take our final picture. Let's know.
And I wanted to say, I just saw your comment. I know you call her Kosi, I call her Perpetua, on
Yeah.
my relationship with my brother. Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely. Oh, I want to say, I guess while we're getting maybe ready
In the
to take the
book.
picture, that I think that um sometimes we don't think of, for example, if you have siblings, that your relationship with your siblings also needs intentionality. But my relationship with my brother has actually taught me that like I think sometimes we believe that if you have a sibling, automatically you're going to be close with them. But there are actually people who are not actually close with your siblings, which is a very real thing. And I think just like sometimes we think of, oh, I'm going to be intentional in my friendships, I'm going to be intentional in these other relationships or with siblings. And I've noticed that like even your siblings are people to be intentional with, really checking in with them, knowing how they're doing. Not just like assuming they're doing okay, because they're your sibling. So that's something I've actually grown to learn over the years, and it's still something I'm growing to learn. And again, we're always still learning. I know in 5 years' time I'll still be learning and still be improving. But yeah, I just wanted to add that because I don't know how many people have siblings on this call, but this is just an encouragement for your siblings. Actually putting the work for them to like be intentional about like asking them how they're doing, taking time to call, like gisting with them, that kind of thing. Because it's possible for you to have a sibling who you're not actually friends with. They're just like you speak to them because they're your sibling, not because you see them as a friend. And sometimes, age difference might contribute to that. They're maybe like so much older than you, than a different point in life. But just finding time to speak with them and see how they're doing. And really have conversations you might be have with a friend can really help that relationship. So yeah.
Yes. And okay. So now we'll take our picture. Let's take it with this background. um if everyone can turn on their camera, if you're in a place where you can turn on your camera, that would be good. I'm going to try to. Okay. Trying to figure out the way where everyone can show. Oh,
It's so good to see all your beautiful faces. I hope that maybe when Eniola and I, are in Nigeria, God helping us. It will be so. I know a lot of people are in Lagos. It will be so
yeah,
lovely to actually see people in person. Maybe that's something to keep in mind for months or years to come. But yeah.
that would be beautiful. A mini. Okay.
Yeah, reunion.
Yes.
Oh, Kasi, is that your cat? That's so cute.
Cat.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I
Wow.
wasn't expecting that.
Okay. So we'll be taking the picture by 7:51. So 1 minute, you guys can use that to turn on your cameras so we can take the picture.
So, what's your cat's name?
My sisters named her Pappy. That's actually my nickname, Sha. But when I was
Oh.
not around, they gave her the name Betrayal.
Oh, yeah, that's premium betrayal. How could they?
Is she like a new pet?
Yes, we got her in August, or let me
Um,
say
Mm.
ending of July. She was very shy then, but now she's always like she wants like body contact every time.
uh, most of the
That's
cats
very cute.
actually go away from, like, even though they like their pet owner, they still find a way to seclude themselves and sit down by themselves sometimes, or most of the times.
Uh, this one she likes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Okay. So I'm guessing you guys are in a place where you can't turn on your camera. So the rest of us will be taking our picture. Um, I'll do a little
Can say
countdown,
hi.
and then we'll take the picture. So yes. Are you guys ready? Okay. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, that's so pretty. Thank you guys. And thank you so much for
Thank you.
this Saturday. It's like the weekend.
Thank you all. Yes. Oh, can I make a request?
Yes.
Am I allowed? I would actually love to actually read people's reviews. If people can send in, um, how can we do it? Maybe if there will be a form, or even if you can leave it on seller um where you got the book. I think it would be great because I would love to like actually gather, because your thoughts on the book will help other students. So when people, because it's one thing for me to say encourage other people to read the book, but when
Mhm.
they hear from other people, they can actually know why to read the book. So whether it's just two sentences or a whole paragraph, however much you want to share, I would love to actually read your review, so you can maybe um leave the reviews through. I think Seller has which is the platform the ebook is on, has a place for people to leave reviews. So if you can leave reviews, that would be so wonderful for me, as well as for those who need those reviews, because sometimes some people just need that, like, to know what other people thought of the book. And I think there's so many students who will benefit from reading all your reviews. So that
Mhm.
would be amazing.
Thank you. I'm currently on the website now. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
share the link. I think we have
Yes.
to sign, we have to log in first to be able to drop a review. So you all should log in. And thank you so much for the copies as well, for blessing us with the copy.
Yes. Of course. Yeah, no, for me, I was like, I was more than happy to give you, to share the copies. I was like, that's my gift to the community, to let you know that you guys are doing incredible work. And I'm just rooting for all of you. And I just want you to know that, like, you have so many people rooting for you, me, and Yola, and just so many people. I know that, it's just so incredible. And we're all so proud of you. And I can't wait to see the many, many things that everyone on this call, and even those who couldn't make it to this call, will do.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to figure out the way we can
Hmm.
drop a review. Or do you want me to share my screen?
Sure.
Okay, let me share my
I know
screen.
maybe other people on your can. I think yeah, when you log into the yes, for those who, I think, yes. So if you go to, I think, and yeah, do you want to go to the part of like the things your
Should I go here?
if you tap on your profile, like um the things you've actually like gotten on the, if you
Okay.
tap on, yeah, yes, purchases, I
Okay.
believe. Um, yes, maybe there. I don't know which. Yeah, I think if you tap on
Yeah.
maybe that, you should be able, from purchases, leave a review, question mark. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure, but
Oh, leave
maybe
a
we can.
review. Leave a review.
Oh yes, exactly. So
Yes.
I don't know if people saw that, but yes, once you go to seller and you go to purchases, you will see the book, and then you can leave a review. So again, the review would be so, so wonderful for me and for the rest of the future people who will read it, because they will be able to learn from your insights, and it to help them know, okay,
Mhm.
I should get this book. And yeah, because I know all of you have said so many important things. I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. Even for me, so many things I'm like, that's I'm glad this is resonating. So the more people say, oh, this and that resonated with these other people, it will help
Mhm.
them as well.
Yes. And I'll share the link to this point, or
Mm-hmm.
just Stella first, because I think it's
Mm-hmm.
specific for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I think people need to log into their accounts.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So that's
Amazing.
the link. And yes, I'll make sure everyone also shares their review, personal review with you after the call. But
Amazing.
thank you.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. I hope, this is the last quarter of the year, that this last quarter can be a time for reflection, a time for, wrapping things up. And also a reminder that you don't have to have like finished your goals by the end of the year. No, we can go again next year. Just remembering that we want to, at the end of the day, be better versions of ourselves. It doesn't necessarily means I've checked off everything off the boxes, but making, am I becoming a better person? Am I doing things I would love to be doing? Am I growing? That's really important. That's an important question. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you. And with this, we've come to the end of our first book club session with Ruth Olujobi. We look forward to reading more of your books, if that's in the plan, and to get an update as you get
Yes.
explore more of your journey. Continue to share with us. We really, really appreciate you sharing your stories with us and being vulnerable with us as well. And thank you everyone
Yes.
for joining. For those that have been busy, we actually have the graduation ceremony tomorrow. So it's been a busy weekend for everyone.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
because they've been working on their capstone projects and
Mm-hmm.
we'll be having the ceremony tomorrow. And it's tomorrow evening as well, the same time. So I know you're already
Wow.
don't like overpack your schedule with just guess what it together stuff. Book club tomorrow, everyone will
Mhm,
present their projects and it will be more of like a competition and then a graduation ceremony.
mhm,
So thank you so much for staying consistent with us throughout the past 8 to 10 weeks, and for Rhodes for
mhm.
being our first and last speaker throughout this program. We really appreciate your support. And yes, with that, we'll be coming to the end of today's seminar. And I look forward to seeing the rest of you tomorrow. And I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your weekend.
And you too.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.